Hello everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. In this episode I'm going to talk about repotting mature bonsai. When we grow bonsai, we have to be aware that on a certain timeline we have to repot them. As they grow in the foliage, they also grow in the roots, and obviously they need to develop new roots all the time. There is a major difference between conifer and deciduous tree. Conifer can stay longer time in a bonsai container. I'm talking about 5 to 10 years between repot and repot for mature trees. On the deciduous trees, we have to repot more often. For example, I repot my deciduous tree every 2-3 years because if they don't have any more room to develop roots, they start getting weak and they don't develop as we want, especially on the deciduous trees. If they don't have room to develop new roots, they start losing inner little branches, and this is a problem, especially for mature trees. Today, in this episode, I will gonna repot this Korean hornbeam that is been in this pot for the last 3 years, and now it's time to refresh some of the soil, cut some of the roots, and put eventually back in the same pot or eventually choose another pot. And then for the second part, I'm gonna repot a mugo pine and I show you the different strategy. Now that the tree is out of the pot, using a little rack, we're gonna remove all the soil around to free the roots and create new space for new roots to develop. This tree was repotted on 100% Akadama. I use 100% Akadama on my deciduous trees because especially in summer they love to hold moisture. They develop a lot of fine roots. I don't need the very big roots that eventually they can develop if I use pumice. And every 3 years normally I take them off and repot to refresh all the soil around. What we don't need on a tree that is so mature is to go inside and remove all the soil from what is called the heart of the root ball, the shin, and this will create too much stress for the tree, is unnecessary work, apart if on some trees there is still some original soil. It's not the case of this Carpinus. This is in full Akadama, is nice and strong, and is only refreshing, as I said, the soil around. Now that we free the roots around, I want to remove about an inch of the lower part where a lot of those runners normally are, and I want to refresh that part too before choosing the new pot and putting it inside of the new pot. As you can see, there is a big mess of roots in the bottom. So what I do, I go inside and I remove. find some big root, I take it off. I only want fine roots to develop for my mature bonsai. Finer roots means finer vegetation. This is very important to learn. So any big root that develop too much strength, I wanna take off to improve finer roots. In my pot room, I find this beautiful John Pitt glaze, fantastic blue. This is my favorite glaze. Nice oval, slightly bigger than the previous pot, but I think it will fit perfectly the tree, and even more have a lot more space to develop good roots and to keep maturing the tree. I will call this tree in a medium high stage of development. We are still working on creating a lot of fine branches, so having a little bit more room will give the tree a little bit more strength. Obviously, now there is no more wiring to do on the tree, but if the tree is gonna get too strong, because obviously it's gonna have more room for the roots, we need to be aware to outer canopy defoliation during the growing season to bring energy inside, and then develop more fine branches and work with our scissor to keep the tree compact and mature a lot of finer vegetation. So this is a beautiful pot, as you can see. I love pots with a lot of drainage holes because they can bring a lot of oxygen in the root ball. It's very important for the tree earth. Now with Mauro we're gonna put nets all over the place, create our anchors, and then sit the tree inside after putting a little layer, eventually 1 centimeter of medium-sized pumice for the drainage, and then sit the tree inside in full Akadama double red band Ibaraki. Now that we position the nets, we're gonna prepare 2 anchors. What we're gonna do, we bend the aluminum wire with the gym plier to have a 90-degree angle and put the wire perfectly inside the 2 anchor holes. This will help us not have wire underneath loose, and our anchor will be much better. So we create a little mountain in the center with Akadama. I sit the tree inside and then I gently move it in so the soil will go in contact with the part that we kill in underneath. So from that point the roots can go directly to the soil. We don't risk to have any pocket of air that will cause dry out of the roots. We have a good space around to have new roots developing, And now the tree is, in my opinion, in a much better container. Also the color suits better the tree, highlight the beauty of this tree. The pot is perfect sized. The branches slightly go out of the rim of the pot. It's very elegant and feminine with this lip going a little bit inside. The tree is perfectly positioned to see this root. This root is also slightly forward. This is another important thing. And now we can work on creating the anchors to set and fix the tree to the pot, and then finish up with the new akadama. Now we're gonna fill the space with the akadama. It's very important to do that little movement that Paolo is doing, pushing the akadama inside. So also in the edge of the root ball, we don't risk to have pockets. Put the akadama very well inside, and we're gonna fill in perfectly all the remaining space in the pot. The other important movement to fill the holes is entering a little bit with chopstick and going in a circle movement around, and this will help the soil to go down. We have to be careful not doing that on Yamadori tree with not very mature root ball, because this can lift up some fine roots and push down the soil. Now that the tree has been watered enough to wash out all the dust from the akadama, we're gonna put all around the pot the top dressing. We do only a ring around the pot, so we can hold moisture in that section. That is the section where in about 2 weeks from now the new fine roots will start developing. So we don't want to stress them in case that soil will become too dry. So we do a good ring around of sphagnum moss, and this will help the tree rooting, and as I said, will protect the new fine roots. We are getting ready the mix for conifer. So we're gonna put 4 parts of pomace. Then we're gonna put 2 parts of akadama, bigger size. And then I like to use maybe a 10% of the mix with zeolite. Zeolite is a good soil to help and protect conifers from fungal issues. And then we mix everything together, and we get the soil ready for a pot, the mugo pile. In the base of the pot, as drainage, we're gonna use big pomace to have a lot of air circulation. Differently from deciduous trees on conifer, we have to be very, very careful on oxygen. That's why I like to use bigger size of media, and again use a good big size of pomace in the bottom of the pot for drainage. Also because I don't shift my media, my soil before using. What I do, the first time I water the tree, I water deeply, so all the dust, because the drainage holes are big, and there is a lot of big pomace underneath. All the dust will flash out, and then I will not water my conifer until the soil is dry again. This help to have always a good part of oxygen flowing inside of the root ball, and then when we water the tree, that oxygen will flow out and is a substitute with a part of water. So basically we allow the root ball to breathe, and this help to build a nice and strong root ball. A little bit of cleaning of the old needle after repot, and then the tree can be watered and put back in the benches. On conifer, when they are very mature like this tree and I repot them, I don't use any top dressing with the sphagnum moss on top of the soil because, as I said, I want to allow the oxygen to flow as much as I can on top of the root ball. Now I want to show you a couple of repot of old conifer, couple of big mugo pines from my collection. Old root ball, but obviously after many years they need to be repotted, especially you can see on this one how along the years the tree basically lifts itself up. That means there are a lot of roots running around underneath. The tree is very strong, but I need to repot it. On this one, I want to keep the same pot. The pot is good. Just an easy repot to, as I said, take the tree out, remove the extra roots underneath, clean a little bit around, and then put a new, very good draining soil mix. See how in the lower part of the pot we have a lot of very good mycorrhiza, and then mycorrhiza, when I will open the root ball, I'm gonna collect it and then use in the other soil to propagate it. This tree was repotted about 5 years ago in a mix of probably 70% of pomace and 30-40% of akadama. So there is a good amount of fine roots, good mycorrhiza. So we want to refresh the outer part, free some roots gently all around, and then put back in the same pot. While we work around, if we find long runners, we prune them out, not so aggressively as we're gonna do on a deciduous tree, but we need to remove eventually some roots. You see, they run around the pot, they are dominant, and we wanna move the energy to the finer roots, and as we did also for the other tree, everything we're gonna find underneath, we wanna open up and then substitute and prune it away so the tree can develop some more roots. The other thing on conifer, what I wanna do is clean a little bit the top. So if there are some area where is leftover or old fertilizer, some moss, I like to remove it so the tree can breathe. You can see still some of the old pomace. Normally what's happened is that the akadama that stays on top because the winter frost basically break down and flash away, and we have the pomace here that never change in time. That is very good to keep good air in the top of the soil, but still if we have some moss, if we have some leftover of fertilizer, it's good to clean it and substitute with new soil. Always keep the strong inner part of the soil together. On an old tree like this that already have a mature root ball, never open the root ball. Only if happen that there is some problem of root rotting because you over stress the tree or you overwater, Then you have to remove the old soil because eventually some roots inside are dead. But in this case, you can see white roots all around. The root body is very strong, and we want to keep it safe. You can see here is all the roots running around. So we want to open this area. You see a lot of nice mix with white. L'ho aggiunto un po', occhio lì. With white mycorrhiza inside. Want to refresh a little bit this area. Remove these roots. You see 1 inch of roots running around. Good mycorrhiza that we can recuperate to put in the bottom of the pot. All these roots, you see layers of roots in the nice big pumice. But this is why the tree lift itself. It's been 5-6 years. So now doing this service will avoid the point that the tree will be root bound. The roots will not breathe, and then these roots will start dying and create root rotting. All these roots are alive, but again, we need to substitute and give the tree space to develop new one. Okay? Very important operation. Okay? So now we clean a little bit more, free some more the roots, still have the base of the root ball together, and then we put back in the new pot. Okay. Uno strato di terreno buono. As you see, also this repot is done. So no top dressing on this tree. I like to leave the roots breathing. And then we're gonna bring the tree outside, water, and then it will go in full sun to flash out. Now is spring, the tree is pushing out. It's a perfect time for repotting. It will flash out and be stronger. And later on this year, I will refine it and bring it back to its beauty. I hope with this video I was able to give you a good set of information about repotting mature trees, either deciduous and conifer, with different strategies and my way on doing it. As you could have seen, I don't use any lava rock because I live in the middle of the mountain. Here it's pretty wet, so I don't like to use lava that here tend to hold more moisture with this porosity. I like most of all to use pumice and a little bit of akadama. You also see the use of zeolite on the mix, a little bit to help the trees recover, and also and especially to protect the roots from fungal issue. I was finding that type of soil very useful for that. So for this episode is all. Thank you so much. Thank you for subscribing and commenting my videos. See you at the next. Hello guys, I just finished taking care of this beautiful taxus and is one of the trees that is on my new book, Bonsai Dream #2. There is all the story of the tree since the beginning when we did all the work on the dead wood, on the live line, and now after 20 years, the tree is shining. So if you are interested to buy my new book, Bonsai Dream #2, send me an email.